Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Poulyana Pazand-Srouji.
And you have yet another success story
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show. I have one of my dearest friends on with me today. Welcome, Poulyana.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to talk about love, family, and adoption. And there's no better person to talk to us about this than her. Let me tell you guys just a little bit about her before we start. She's an HR corporate professional by day and a mother to a sweet little boy that they adopted. In 2019, she returned to school to become a psychotherapist to support couples who are struggling with infertility, and she's author of the book, I Prayed, God Answered. Show us a copy of the book, Poulyana.
Sure.
I love that. It's an inspiring book about keeping faith and waiting to receive the call to adopt a child. It also provides loving guidance and answering questions about why a child was adopted. Poulyana, welcome again, and I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Dr. Amy. A little bit about my background. I am married to a wonderful husband of almost 16 years. We have a sweet boy named Noah, who is 4 years old, and we live in California. I am currently, as you mentioned, a HR professional for a healthcare organization, and I am an inspired children's book author.
That's awesome. And I want us to hear more about your journey because there's so much to learn from you about. And when you were ready to grow your family, you were met with infertility. Can you share with us what your journey was like?
Well, like everyone else, very hopeful, very excited, ready to start the journey and grow a family. And unfortunately, that really just was not the case for us. And we ran into some challenges. We ran into some hurdles and bumps, which did not allow us with the family that we were longing for so long. So unfortunately, the journey that was delivered to us was we weren't able to have a child of our own, and which caused a little bit of heartbreak and challenges for both my husband and I.
And I read that there was something missing, that you felt like something was missing on your journey. And what was that? What was missing for you?
I'll be honest with you, going through the infertility process, I knew there was something missing, but it was so early on, I just wasn't able to really learn or really point my finger to what exactly it was, but I knew there was something. I had my family, I had the support of my husband, I had a circle of friends who were cheering me on, but I knew there was something missing. As the years progress and really looking back now, I'm able to confirm and validate that what was missing was I was really looking for someone that I was able to talk to in a safe space. No judgment, no questions, just being able to walk into a room and speak to someone who may be able to relate to the experiences that I was going through. And I think that was a big missing piece, at least for me and my husband. And I think looking back, I think although we weren't going to have a baby of our own, but I think the process would have been a lot maybe more easier, and we would have felt a little bit more supported during the journey.
And I tell people the most important thing to do when you start treatment is to build your team. And I've learned so much as a fertility doctor for almost 14 years now. In my practice, that's one of the first things I talk to every single patient about is our mental health is so important, and feeling like you have someone to talk to from the very beginning, from the outset, is really important to me. So I'm really glad to hear that you say that, and I'm sorry that that was missing for you, and I'm glad that we can talk about it now so that we can help other people. And so, what helped you during that difficult time?
I'll be honest with you. What helped me just move forward was, again, the love and support of my family. Faith was so important for me as well. I feel like during that process and during the challenges, I really had to turn into my faith. And, a lot of people talk to me and say, well, I'm not a faithful person. That's okay. What is it that exactly resonates to you? Aside from my faith, it was my yoga mat. I knew that if I went to my yoga mat, that was where I can just let go, be myself, get a great workout, but mentally decompress and just walk away from the everyday struggles that I was running into.
What suggestions do you have for fertility patients who are looking for self-healing on their own journey?
I will be honest with you. I say this a lot is find your support system, but also look inside of yourself. What is it that resonates with you? What gives you peace? Is it a good hot cup of coffee in the morning? Is it a great book? The goal is not to read through the book. Maybe it's just that one chapter that is your favorite chapter that you can go back and read because it gives you a good feeling. Is it a workout? Is it just to take a nice walk outside? Maybe it's a quote. You just have to find something that resonates with you, that gives you a good feeling, that gives you hope. Some folks tell me, you know what, it's a prayer. And if that's the case, then do it. But find what serves you purpose. And that's something that I'm just a huge advocate on. It's not an easy process, but finding ways and people to surround yourself with at the bare minimum will make things a little bit easier for you.
And that's hard work. I mean, you actually have to actively work at finding those things. And I feel like, I can say those things like find your happy place, what's your mantra, but you really have to work hard at doing it. And I think working with someone like you can really help people do that. So you can actually go through a session with a therapist and actually work on those things that will help you find purpose and help you find peace. So obviously this journey has inspired you because, we're talking about psychotherapy, and I mentioned when I was reading your bio that you now went and completed school to be a psychotherapist. So tell us about that.
After years of struggle and challenges, and when we had our son, I really knew that although I love the career I'm doing now, but it wasn't serving a purpose for me. And I knew that I had a bigger calling, and my calling was to be a psychotherapist. There is so much need. There's so much attention that needs to be really drawn into this space. And there are couples and women that are really looking for support. And I decided to take the leap. It was a leap from my heart. And honestly, am I starting all over again? I don't think I'm starting all over again. I'm starting just where I need to be. This is the timing. This is the right place right now. So I'm hoping that when I come to that place, I'm able to help couples and even women to be able to be that ear for them and that support system and provide them with those tools that they need, especially when they're working with doctors like you, when they're going through the process to achieve that beautiful family that they're desiring.
And you also work as an adoption coach. Can you tell us more about that?
I do. I am an adoption coach. It was something that was very meaningful for me, especially because my husband and I went through our own adoption journey. And I knew that under the umbrella of adoption, there are so many resources, so many different avenues that you can take to adopt a child of your own that I thought, I'd like to offer that to couples who are looking to adopt. And so I took another leap. I decided to become an adoption coach for couples to guide them, to answer questions again, and possible options of wanting to adopt here.
That's pretty incredible. And how many couples have you helped so far?
I have helped a total of 10 couples so far. I have 5 couples right now that are waiting for that big phone call, and they're really excited. And again, I'm there to just cheer them on through all the ups and even the downs.
Yeah, I have a lot of hair on my arms, as you can imagine, being a Syrian, and it's all standing up. So that's really special. That's awesome. So what do people who are curious about adoption need to know about it?
It's not an easy process. It can be quite long, and there's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of details that are involved. And I really tell people is, how emotionally invested are you? Some folks, after leaving challenges of not being able to conceive a child of their own and working through all these different routes, say, okay, if adoption is our journey, it's going to be easy. It's not. You have to be emotionally prepared for it. As I mentioned, the couples that I'm currently working with right now, they have been waiting for a call for a year or even longer, for months now. So you have to be emotionally prepared for that. And I think it's important for someone like myself that has been through that process to be there again, to provide those tools, the resources, and to guide them to be prepared to say, it may not happen overnight, but I promise you it's going to happen. So really walking into this process of being open-minded and open-hearted is probably one of the very important things that you need to have when you walk into this space.
Yeah, it's so important. And you've written a really sweet book about adoption titled I Prayed, God Answered. Tell us about your book.
I'll be honest with you, it's a true story. It's a story about myself. It's a story between my son and I. And I turned it into a children's book because it was so important for me to allow families who have adopted and even children, in the event if they have any questions, to understand what the bond is. What does it mean? What is the definition of adoption? What does it mean when a couple or a woman is waiting for that phone call? So what I did was I turned that into a children's book here. It's a relationship between a mother and son. And the son asks his mom, how did I come home? And so she walks him through that journey. And so I think it's important because this is more of a dialogue for parents to have with their children. Okay. And it's important to do that at a very young age. And so that's what we did with our son. And it's something that he's very aware of at his level, though. And so I'm very happy about this book. And the purpose of this book was to help couples and help adopted families.
And what do children need to know about adoption, in your opinion?
I think what they need to know, in my opinion, is love is love. Love is love. And children need to know that regardless of where you've come from or your background, you are wanted, you have a purpose, and you belong somewhere. You belong in a family, in a home.
That's beautiful. And how do you suggest that people share about adoption with their children? I mean, I think everyone should get your book for sure, but can you give us some tips and guide us a little bit along those lines?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to go to a child's level. So that means it's almost like children's talk. It's resources. If it's not my book, it's finding a book full of color, full of character, to really break down and educate and speak to a child and allow them to process and understand what adoption exactly means. Children are so smart and they're able to kind of grasp onto things because their little brains are like sponges. And so I think it's very important to plant small seeds through stories, through colors, through cartoons, to really introduce adoption to them.
And where can people find your book?
Barnes & Noble, Amazon, any major retailer.
Okay. And then how can people find you? I imagine people who are listening to our interview, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I would love to work with Poulyana. So tell us more about how people can find you.
You can find me on my website, www.poulyana.com, on my Instagram account as well, Poulyana Pazand-Srouji. Those are two avenues that you can certainly reach out and get a hold of me to inquire further.
And can you work with people who are out of state or international, or can you only work with people who are in California?
I am open to anyone out of state and internationally as well.
So Poulyana, before we close, I just want to ask you one more question, and that is, if there's one thing that you can tell someone who's just starting their journey, exploring adoption, what would that be?
Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. If no one believes in you, you believe in yourself.
Aw, that's beautiful. Well, thank you again. Have a wonderful day, and we hope to have you on again. And I imagine you're probably already thinking about your second book.
I am. I can't wait.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Poulyana Pazand-Srouji.
And you have yet another success story.
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.